I wanted to make a game like Space War. If you don't know what Space War is, it was, I think, the first video game from like 1960 something. And it had vector graphics and kind of a simple interface where you flew two spaceships around I think it's a star with some gravity. I wanted to make a game kind of like this, but having a little more of a three-dimensional feel. But I didn't want to make it too complicated like a full three-dimensional game. It must have been really amazing to play this game in the 1960s, considering there was really no other possible thing even close to this. The game that I had access to when I was a kid was an imitation of the digital equipment game. This one was also called Space War, but the graphics weren't vector graphics, they were pixel graphics. And the gameplay was somewhat terrible, and you couldn't aim the ship more than every like 30 degrees. And then it did have various options for the sides being wrapping around and the sun at the center having gravity and some other kinds of things like that. But as a whole, it was not a very exciting or fun to play game. This type of game really reached its zenith around the year 1990 when Star Control came out from Accolade, and it had kind of blisteringly fun action and a whole bunch of different ships, but it kept the same two-dimensional format with wraparound around a gravity assisted or a star. It added things like asteroids and different kinds of weapons, and it was a blast to play, but the fundamentals weren't really changed. I wanted to take these games as an inspiration to see what would happen if it was more of a three-dimensional feel, and what would the gameplay be like if the ships were moving on three-dimensional shapes like a sphere or like other shapes. I think it would be really interesting to see how the strategy and the flying of the ship would change on other geometries. This is a quick prototype I made, but I want to explore a lot more here in the three-dimensional space.